This is Mac OS Ken.
Daniel Ives as bear repellent. The NLRB joins a case against Apple. And Napoleon makes a run at the box office. It is Monday, the 27th of November, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Still spinning the hits is Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note he wrote over the holiday weekend. Wrote, rewrote, remixed maybe? Then again, that's what he says the bears are doing, though they may not realize they're doing it. According to the analyst, the iPhone 15 line is looking strong in China headed into the holidays, despite all the negative bear noise a few months ago. Ives and friends think sales between Black Friday and Christmas will be up modestly from iPhone 14, despite worry from bears coming out of the September timeframe. And while unit growth looks modest, growth for ASPs is notable, with sales skewing to the Pro, Pro Max end. Quoting his summation, with service revenue back to double-digit growth and iPhone units that should be in the roughly 225 million range for fiscal year 24, we believe the growth demise story of Apple being spun by bears is a dynamic we have seen constantly over the past decade, and this is just another chapter in that book. Spinning the hits is the phrase that pays. Mr. Ives has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $240. It was almost 3 years ago that Apple CEO Tim Cook said he probably wouldn't be Apple CEO in 10 years. Speaking with Kara Swisher in April of 2021, Cook said, 10 more years? Probably not. But I can tell you that I feel great right now and the date is not in sight. But 10 more years is a long time and probably not 10 more years. So at this point, probably not 7 then. We've no idea who Apple might name to replace Cook, but we do know that Cook has been thinking about it. Mac Rumors has watched the interview I told you about last week between Cook and singer/podcaster Dua Lipa. He didn't put a timeline out this time, saying he can't envision his life without being at Apple and that he'll be there for a while. But, things happen. Quoting Cook, "We're a company that believes in working on succession plans, so we have very detailed succession plans, because something unpredictable can always happen. I could step off the wrong curb tomorrow. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I pray that it doesn't." Asked to name names, surprise, not gonna do it. "I can't say that," said Cook, "but I would say that my job is to prepare several people for the ability to succeed, and I really want that person to come from within Apple, the next CEO. So that's my role, that there's several for the board to pick from." The accusations that Apple's dragging its heels in negotiations with its unionized stores, that may be steering the company toward trouble. Midweek last week, Business Insider ran a piece that had the National Labor Relations Board, or NLRB, accusing Apple of violating U.S. labor law. A little over a year ago, Apple improved its health and education benefits for Apple Store workers across the retail chain. Left out of the improved benefits, Apple Towson Town Center, the first Apple retail location to unionize in the U.S. The union representing the store filed a complaint with the NLRB in the first week of November 2022. Now, the NLRB is taking up the cause, agreeing with the union that Apple's motivation was the assistance unionized employees were giving to other Apple Store workers attempting to unionize. Now, if you're inclined to think it's about time the NLRB got involved, well, it's only starting to be about time. According to the report, NLRB joining the complaint is the first step that lets its regional office investigate the claims and seek a settlement. If Apple and the union don't settle, The board says there will be a hearing with an NLRB administrative law judge beginning the 20th of February, 2024. That judge's decision can then be appealed to the board and then to federal appeals court. Business Insider says reps for Apple, the Towson Apple Union, and the NLRB did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Of course, they posted the piece on Thanksgiving, so that might have been expecting a bit much. A bit of good news for Apple in a roundabout way. 9to5Mac says Foxconn founder and former chairman Terry Gou has ended his latest run to be president of Taiwan. If you're wondering what that has to do with Apple, stick close. China thinks Taiwan belongs to China. Taiwan thinks Taiwan belongs to Taiwan. Gou was running in support of Taiwanese independence, according to 9to5Mac. Though Gou has severed ties with Foxconn, the Chinese government announced last month that it was investigating Foxconn for possible breaches of law regarding both taxes and land use. 9to5Mac says most believe the investigation was meant to intimidate Gou and that Foxconn would be penalized unless he dropped out. While he is no longer involved with running Foxconn, he remains its largest shareholder. The thinking seems to be that Gou ending his bid for the presidency will end China's poking into Foxconn. If so, that is likely a bit of good news for Apple. If you want to actually chat with ChatGPT, it is now free to do so. A piece from Mac Rumors says OpenAI has announced that the voice chats feature in its official ChatGPT app for iPhone and iPad is now available for everyone to use, no subscription required. Made available back in September to Plus and Enterprise subscribers, the report says the feature is now free for all users on Android and iOS. Just like it sounds, Mac Rumor says the voice chat feature gives users the option of speaking conversationally with the chatbot instead of typing. While the voice chat is now free, an OpenAI account is still required to use the app, according to the report. And finally today, it was a decent weekend for the latest Apple original at the box office. Deadline says the Ridley Scott epic Napoleon took enough green for silver. That is to say, it made enough money to take second place in theaters. Deadline points out that it had a stronger opening weekend than the previous Apple original, Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. The piece also points out, though, that Napoleon had a holiday weekend in which to conquer, while Killers did not. Also, actors could not do promotion for the Scorsese pick due to the then in-progress SAG-AFTRA strike. Critics and audiences both like Napoleon more than they don't. It's got a score of 60 with critics and a 60 with audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. Running down the holiday weekend's top 5, the Sony horror flick Thanksgiving took 5th. The Universal DreamWorks kids movie Trolls Band Together was 4th. Disney's Wish disappointed in 3rd. Apple's Napoleon took the aforementioned 2nd spot. And Lionsgate's Hunger Games prequel, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, ended its 2nd week in 1st place. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.